What is up? What is up, guys? Gideon Williams, Auto Trends Podcast, your co host, as well as Lucas Welk. We are joining you live from our remote destinations, and we are here to talk to you today about a few great topics. One, the warehouse distributor, the backbone of the industry, the backbone of automotive, the backbone of making sure that that individual part gets to the technician, it gets to the repair shop, it gets to the service lane, it gets in a box for your online ordering. It is the backbone of our industry. It keeps us moving. Today we have a very exciting episode, and it's all built around warehouse distributors. But before we get to that piece of the podcast, Lucas, what is up, my man?
How are you doing, Gideon? We've had some exciting times on the podcast here lately. We've had some incredible guests and stuff on lately, and yeah, I'm excited to get this going. Distributors are, wild. In our world at the moment, it's all about the talk is all about distributors leveraging their online presence. We've got some great lineup of interview guests coming up in the near future as well to dig deeper into this. So today is going to be a great introduction, I think, of what we have to come.
100%. And before we kick this baby off, again, to our listeners, we have been had an overwhelming outpouring of support from the industry. I've always said when you engage the industry, when you talk to the industry, it talks back. And we have had, as you know, Lucas, we planned a lot of this in 2023. We saw an opportunity that just needed in the marketplace to have a voice around parts, technology, what's happening in the industry. How can you make your business a better business? It's been unbelievable. And I will say this, the best way to support the Auto Trends podcast, like and subscribe. If you want to share the content or you see it's valuable, please do so.
Yep.
Also, we wholeheartedly want to support your mission. So if you believe you have valuable insights, whether it's on the global economy, whether it's on global supply chain, whether it's on North America, whether it's on different markets, it's around parts, technology, e-commerce related, we want to hear from you. Ain't that right, Lucas?
Oh, absolutely. No, 100%. I mean, a good example of that is our last interview, which we posted a couple days ago. If you haven't listened to it, I really encourage everybody to listen to it. We had Michelle Delcourt from CNH Riemann on, and what an incredible interview with her. The outpouring after that, you're speaking of outpour, Gideon. I mean, the response was incredible. The likes, the shares, the subscribers that we got, but not only that, people, emailing us with questions and just found the information that she was able to provide so valuable. So if you haven't listened to it, make sure you give that a listen.
Well, and she kind of blew my mind from even conversations we had before the podcast was released,
Yep.
around remanufacturing. I mean, what an
Yep.
awesome lady, what an awesome marketer.
Yep.
Did a phenomenal job of connecting the dots. And I'm going to tell you, I think you and I both probably are looking at reman different than say rebuilt, and that was a prime example of why we're here. What we're doing
Yep.
is we're greasing the tracks, right? We're making sure that the information that you as a consumer have and need, again, Case and New Holland, man, that those two brands along with some other
Yep.
heavy duty agricultural automakers, or I guess tractor makers or equipment manufacturers, keep us moving forward. And it's just awesome to see truly what Reman is, the sustainability impacts that it had. I had no idea. I really
No.
had no idea. And so it's awesome to have her. It was a great episode. So if you missed it, please go back and watch it.
Absolutely. And to the listeners that, are interested in manufacturing, like you say, manufacturing versus rebuild, I go and watch that episode because it could potentially save you a lot of money and completely change your outlook and decision on what you're going to do when you have a problem with your engine. So, yeah, go back and listen to it. I encourage you to either reach out to us or reach out to Michelle directly. She's on LinkedIn, or definitely reach out to CNH Riemann. But definitely give that a listen and reach out accordingly. So
100%. What about our lineup, Lucas?
We've got an incredible lineup coming up now. On March 19th, we've got Tunk Kip who is the CEO of Gamut. So that's going to be a massive interview. I mean, really, really looking forward to that. March 26th, we got Joe Delorme, who's a director of product with Dorman, and he's also a Yang Council member. Um, April 25th, another big celebrity when it comes to the online e commerce parts world. We have Ibrahim Mesbah,
Yep.
CEO of Revolution Parts.
Yep.
That's going to be absolutely incredible.
I'm excited for that. I'm excited for that
Oh, so am
because
I.
even if we go back up to like to Tunic, the CEO of Gamut, Gamut is a great organization, and they do so much for our industry, and just to hear his vision and his insights in it. But I think
Yep.
when you look even at Joe Delorme, he's coming on as a Yang Council member. He's going to share a ton about the Right to Repair Act, the Yang Council member. And then Ibra, man, I am fired up for that. He's really a visionary of technology and a visionary of the parts industry.
Yep. Yeah. No, absolutely. That's going to be a big, big one. Particularly because a lot of our listeners, we get the most probably questions from manufacturers, from distributors, from retailers, from e-tailers, and asking us how do we grow our business. We know technology is not the future; it's here now. So if you're not into it, right this second, you have to get into it because it's not the future anymore. It's something that you have to be investing right now. So he's certainly going to be a very valuable source in terms of going through how you get involved in doing that and putting that effective implementation strategy into your business. So,
100%. And then what one guess that's really exciting is all of this is intertwined with the future of the business is cataloging,
yep,
pies and aces, standardization of data, heavy duty versus replacement versus a car. Sam Russo with Pivot Tree. She is a
huge.
world of knowledge, and we're looking forward to having her April 23rd. And again, we're kicking that off right before ACPN Connect.
Yep,
That's coming up
100%.
out in Chicago.
Yep,
Unfortunately, I will not be in attendance this year. I was last year, but that's a really good episode. So, and then Brendan Finney of SKU Vault, right? We're talking
yep,
about how the small manufacturer can help automate their business through an effective but cost effective as well WMS, right? How do you connect out to your technology partners? How do you grow the business? That's what everything is about here. Is how do you grow the business? We're going to continue to enrich the guests that come onto this platform to share their vision, their knowledge, to ultimately, as you, as the listener, as the subscriber, can make better decisions for your business that are effective, that are growth levers, and you can continue to move with the market as it evolves.
exactly. No, you're exactly right. It's all about providing that knowledge to our listeners. We learn something every single time we talk to any of these guests as well. I mean, it's great that we talk. This year we're going to be talking to such a diversity of guests, from all segments of the markets. And the one interesting thing is they all share their success stories. So what one does correctly, another one might do completely differently and doesn't make it right or wrong, but they're just saying these are the steps that we took as part of our organization to get where we are now. And we're talking to everybody from the smallest e-tailer up to huge, large manufacturers. So whatever business segment that you're in, something's going to, out of each of these interviews, you're going to take something back home and back to the office and back to your next meeting that you can say, guys, I just really learned this. Let's talk more about this. Let's implement this into our business, or, let's get more information on it. So that's what's great, and we love to hear that feedback every week. That's really why we keep doing this, Gideon. I think is because we're hearing that feedback, and, people are giving us ideas for upcoming episodes. Say we'd really like some more information on this. Are you guys going to be doing an episode? And that's what drives us forward. We want to hear that feedback.
Well, that is absolutely the reason we kicked this off. I mean,
Yep.
because it's a voice, and to your point, everyone's operating, a little bit differently, right? Businesses, I mean, everyone's just doing the very best they can do, right?
Yep.
But what I find interesting about, just general 101 in businesses, the bigger you get, the more problems that arise, right? And so the larger you get, although yeah, revenue's great, it's always a good problem to have. You've got to backdoor solutions for scale, right?
Yep.
Systematic growth, organization, right? structure, processes, and I think I've been a part of many organizations that were going through the growth curve. And quite frankly, what's the standard? Well, there is no standard, right? Well, we have to create it.
Exactly.
And I think everyone looks at it differently. And I think this is a great segue into the warehouse distributor.
Yep.
I think it is the most important part. And when we look at the warehouse distributor, why are they so important to our industry? Um, and when you look at the historical context, over the past 20, 30 years, many manufacturers have tried to eliminate the warehouse distributor from the piece. However, they just struggle because distributors have so many locations. They touch so many nicks and crannies of, repair shops and technicians that typically, you need somebody really close to because they're delivering that part. But when you look at the 90s, many of your WDs were like, this is what Motorcraft and Delco, right? The
Yep.
old, well, we're a Motorcraft Delco distributor. And, for some of you who may are new to what that means is Motorcraft is not it's the OE, but it's kind of the aftermarket line that goes from Ford. And then AC Delco as well. It's OE, but it's their aftermarket line that goes into the distribution network that is genuine GM. And I've heard plenty of ripplings around AC Delco and GM Genuine coming together more. I think that's going to continue to happen. But I also think that OE and aftermarket are going to continue to grow together because of technology, right? Many
That's right.
manufacturers who are in the aftermarket are also manufacturing the OE contracts, right? So it's the same part, right? And a lot of consumers don't
Exactly.
know that, but pretty exciting to see just where we've come to where we're going from a WD perspective.
No, you're absolutely right. It's the consolidation of these WDs. I think that we're going to
Big
see
time.
more and more of. No,
Mm-hmm.
100%, and leveraging that online presence and stuff like that with these WDs. Because when Ibrahim comes on, for example, he's really going to be able to share with us a lot of insight into what his organization has done to benefit these WDs from a manufacturing standpoint, from an e-tailer standpoint, from a retailer standpoint. And I think really it's going to blow a lot of people's minds when they really hear, what he has to say, and the power of an organization to kind of consolidate all these different groups and sectors together. That is so key.
100%. Well, that segue into the importance of a WD, the importance of your tech stack, having that really a blended model. I think that is going to be the
Yep.
future, right? WDs are going to be closer through technology, closer to e-tailers, closer to manufacturers, etc.
Yep.
But you made a very important point there, Lucas, about WD consolidation, right? Historically, we've had a lot of small WDs, right? Delco Motorcraft, and some of them added lines, some of them didn't, right? Um, ICANN Enterprises. They
Yep.
own the Auto Plus brand, which is a distribution company, right? They filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. I want to say what, yeah, early 2023. And when we look at that particular, that was a really interesting deal that Auto Plus filed for bankruptcy. Again, for some of you who may not know, they are an aftermarket parts distributor, right? And ICANN obviously owns many different businesses in the space. And what was reported why they filed for Chapter 11 was lessened demand, which I find that interesting
Hmm.
because we see the age of a car is continually getting longer.
That's right.
So to hear a distributor filed because of lessened demand, supply chain disruptions, meaning they couldn't get enough parts to potentially serve their market, inflationary environment, so costs are going up, the effects of COVID-19. I'm not buying it. I'm
Yeah.
just not buying that because here's why I'm not buying it is because we see last 2023 there was an estimated 1% growth across our industry. We are expecting that to be 3 to 4. Here's the thing: is the key here is the fact that the vehicle's getting older and you're saying there's less in demand. That's something's wrong in your business,
Yeah. Yep.
right?
Yep. Exactly.
Historically, if you look at the automotive business, when the economy, when cost of capital gets expensive and the economy contracts, I'm not saying we're in a contractory period right now, but certainly things are being more expensive. So
Yep.
when you have those kind of headwinds, you should, when the economy contracts, the parts business grows because the life of a vehicle gets longer and people are repairing their vehicle versus buying a new one.
Yep.
So I'm not buying that. Although I don't know the details, I do know that who was the beneficiary of picking up the Auto Plus portfolio, right? It was large. I think I want to say it was like 15 plus WDs. It was a ton of locations. The
Right.
Parts
Yep.
House, XL Parts, Marubeni of America Corporation, Factory Motor Parts, PA. There was a lot of the WDs that went and gobbled up market share. And they're going to turn that market share into very, very successful expansions on their P&L. I guarantee it.
Yep. No, 100%.
So,
And what's your opinions and thoughts on WDs and the e-commerce space? Where do you think that's going to be headed in the future?
well, that's a good question. It's very simple. If you look at the historical timeline of a WD, right? They were Delco, Motorcraft. All they were doing was delivering parts to technicians. There was really not a lot of technology in it. They're not technology companies. Most WDs are not. And
Correct.
when you look at e-commerce, okay, why why do we have Rock Auto? Why is there Car ID, CarParts.com, even Amazon, right? Why are there these tech mediums, retailers that don't technically own any parts, but they're doing millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars in sales? Why? The reason is because manufacturers historically were set up for wholesale. WDs are set up for wholesale. There was a gap in the market as technology developed, right?
Yep.
So e-tailers like a Rock, although they don't sell technology, they built on their own proprietary platform. They're routing orders into a handful of WDs across the country. But what's happening is they're basically creating price war. A price war happens when two WDs have the same part and they're fighting for the business. And if you're hedged, if your risk is hedged totally with the Rock Auto of the world, that makes you drop your pants on price. That makes it very, there's plenty of guys that struggle with the margin at Rock, but that's become their blood. Like that's the cash flow lifeblood. So
That's
it's
right.
like, if it goes away, shit, we're not diversified. So
That's right.
to your question, what is the future? I think the future is very simple. If you're a WD, you need to get up to speed with technology. You need to understand that you've got to become. I go back to the quote of Genuine Parts Company President Will Steingel. He said, "We must become a technology company." The winners as a WD, again, they're all going to probably be winners because there's a heavy consolidation. They're becoming big organizations, and it's just a rock solid, bulletproof business. It ain't going anywhere.
Yep.
But you got to be more of a technology company. So when you're a technology company, te- um, connecting your nodes with uber smart tech platforms that are powering digital sales, right? So you have to have one part of your business that can connect into these tech platforms and tech mediums, and we're going to hear a lot from Ibram Mesbah, the visionary of parts technology, man, from the OE, the aftermarket. He truly is a visionary of the game,
Exactly.
and he'll share kind of the some of his thoughts and ideas on it. But if you're a WD, you've got to raise your hand and raise it high, that you don't ever want to overlook an opportunity to fulfill. Because if we look at the late 90s, early 2000s, Rock was actually an eBay seller, okay? And then they continued to develop their business, right? And then volume continue, right? If you ever saw their commercials, it's just little art guys. They have very low cost of doing business.
Yep.
And then they route the orders into WDs. But one area that is difficult is if a manufacturer makes a move with their business, Rock makes this big stink about, we're just going to drop your line from our platform. That's not a steward of the industry, in my opinion. It's just not. So I think when you look at the future from a WD's perspective, you got to open up your organization to fulfillment from manufacturers, right? I think that's going to be the future. Manufacturers are going to become closer to distributors because distributors are fulfilling that volume every day. They're very good at it. They go from a case pack to one. They're shipping out onesies and twosies. That's the guy you want as a partner. So I think that we will continue to see it evolve and we will watch it. But I think that is the future of WDs and e-commerce in the business.
Absolutely. And also, I think the impact of e-tailers on the WDs as well. We hear about that all the time, and from small little e-tailers to larger e-tailers, these drop and ship guys. But I think in the in the future and starting now, they're having a massive impact with these WDs as well. How do you think that they're really pumping into these WDs and benefiting them? And how can these WDs really make a push and into connecting with these e-tailers and retailers, these smaller guys, but a bunch of small guys makes one big thing. So how can the WDs really take advantage of making that connection through technology as well?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I think it's important to understand the reputation of an e-tailer. Okay. From a WD's perspective, not all are created equal. And I mean that in a sense that when an e-tailer starts a business, an online business, most of the time it's the small 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 guys, right? It's not huge in some cases.
Yep.
And they've got to generate demand. They then have to route the orders into the distribution. The distribution ships the order. They got to get tracking back. They got to pay the distributor, right? So they're always operating on a thin margin. And the biggest gap over the last 10, 15 years is that we have been as an industry very good at point solutioning, right? Point solution, just one point solution. We haven't been very good about bringing all of the technology together, right? And so when we look at that piece of it and we look at the, part of how do we grow an e-tailer, we have to build with e-tailers that have a sound technology structure, have a sound technology strategy. So when you automate those pieces, right, you're now knowing e-tailers are coming to your organization that are very, very sound. You and I know it. We are in the space, right? And we work with WDs across the board. We work with e-tailers across the board. We work with manufacturers across the board. And we do a lot of vetting around that piece, right? We do a ton of vetting around, are they a good customer for the WD? Because if the WD is going to waste their time and not get paid, bad relationship. Shouldn't have ever done it in the first place. But what we are seeing is technology is enabling that e-tailer, small, mid, large market, to have the same functional capabilities as these larger e-tailers that are built on a proprietary model, right? So if you're an e-tailer and you want to use many WDs, look for sound partners in the tech space, right, that can help bring all of that to life for you very quickly at a low cost. And now, from a WD's perspective, if I'm the WD, I'm raising my hand to partner with guys who are good in the parts technology, not generalized technology, parts technology.
Correct.
I think that's the key in the future.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And like you say, with us experiencing this every day, we're talking to people and they may be more geared toward power sports or, in some sort of, niche industry, or whether they're geared, we had one coming on board, with us that, has an interest in Corvettes. Older, vintage sort of Corvettes. But what's nice is you can align these smaller e-tailers, retailers with the right WD that has the right manufacturers and companies within their portfolio that can support the specific needs of each individual e-tailer or retailer. And I think that's, and that's leveraging, again, the network, the community, and stuff like that, that we've been lucky enough to build and be a part of. But yeah, that's one thing I think for everybody really to keep in mind is pick the right partner for you. Pick the right WD that you want to work with. The one that suits your needs is going to, grow with you as a business.
Well, and I think that that's the critical part there, right? Because in order for the WD to succeed in this model, you need sound sellers, right?
Yep.
And you also don't need everything about price because Amazon and Rock have driven our price into just, I mean, dust, right? So margin expectations are much lower. But when you're an e-tailer, that's the key. It's a critical part. Now, I want to transition to a question, Lucas, about WDs. Will they they're all B2B, right? There's a couple small ones that are D2C. But largely your big WDs are B2B, right? They're not going to have a direct
Of course.
consumer. And question always comes up, you know, when we look at the rocks, we look at Amazon, we look at these marketplaces, will WDs, because they have the product, they have low cost, will they ever own a direct consumer online marketplace like
Right.
that supports all their brands and they can sell to the direct their consumer? Again, the price would be higher than they're giving their B2B, of course. But that question comes up all the time.
Yep.
Is WDs the future whenever it comes to, hey, are they going to build out their own marketplaces? So if we have 5 mammoth WDs in our market, right, that continue to gobble up market share and grow and be like the big 5, kind of like the big 4 in accounting, but the big 5 in the WD world, will they launch their own marketplaces? I'm going to just tell you right now, I think the answer is yes. I do.
Yep.
I think the answer is yes. I don't think it's going to happen today. I don't think it's going to happen tomorrow, but I think the answer is yes. And all it's going to take is one big WD that has a
Right.
turnkey technology partner and a turnkey solution that can go in there, be effective, create margin, create market share through the online. WDs love taking market share from their competitor, right?
Yep.
You think the
Of course.
parts house loves taking market share from factory or PA or whoever, you know? Of course they do, right?
100%.
And so I'm just going to say that I think the future of marketplace and parts, I think it's actually going to be the WD level. Now, it's going to take some cojones for somebody to
Yes.
make a big move, but I don't think we're far off of that move. It may piss a lot of people off, but it will be the domino that changes how parts commerce and how marketplaces and where people go to buy their parts online in a big way.
Absolutely, absolutely. And, these organizations are having more and more and more of a tech department inside of it. Now they have e-commerce managers, vice president of e-commerce, vice president of IT e-commerce. All these different roles and positions now that Gideon, you and I weren't talking to years ago. That role just simply didn't exist within those organizations. And now they're seeing the need for it. So now when we're speaking to these organizations, they say, well, we're starting to put that infrastructure into place. And I agree 100% with you. Whereas I believe that's going to take time. It's going to take them to get up to speed, develop their own infrastructure inside, unless they're looking for outside platforms to obviously build that for them. But for them to, put a system like that together, I think you're absolutely right. Will take a little bit of time, but it will be the first one into that marketplace will certainly dominate, I think, for a period of time till the other guys can catch up. So that'll
Certainly.
be
Well, if,
interesting.
if, if you look at your mainstream retailers, right, Zone, AutoZone, O'Reilly, Advance, many of them have a direct consumer approach, right? And they're very big
Yep.
companies and they serve a market, right? And so they do serve that purpose, but I think that they're a prime example, right? They have retail storefronts, they have wholesale, right? So they're very big. But I do think that that is a big piece of the puzzle. And you're right. We historically have had a major gap in e-commerce manager, director of e-commerce over North America, global e-commerce, global supply chain and e-commerce, right? But it's inevitable. You have to. You have to.
Right.
There's no choice because it's evolve or die.
Yep.
It
Yep.
is. I mean, you know business. You've owned your own companies, man. You understand the
Yep.
model, dude. If you don't
And
evolve, you're toast.
no, that's it. No, it's game over if you don't. And where they really have to be careful. And again, this is something time and time again we're hearing is that they say, right, we're going to get into e-commerce. We're going to hire an e-commerce manager, this, graduate, they've got their master's degree in this. They hire them on, pay them a massive salary, but that person has no idea anything about the automotive industry.
That's right.
They know everything about e-commerce,
That's
and they
right.
sit down in the chair and they're in front of their computer and they say, I'm going to build myself the most amazing platform, but with zero knowledge of the actual auto industry. And then it creates a big problem. They spend months or a year, building this, spending tons and tons of money, and at the end of the day, it doesn't accomplish anything what they went out to accomplish. So, I would say, kind of stick in your lane, so to speak. Do what you're good at, focus on what you're good at. But there is platforms out here, and again, I don't want to bang on it, but Ibrahim will be on here in a few weeks, and a system like Revolution Parts and a platform like that, they know what they're doing. There, They've done this. They have success with doing it. They're up to date with everything that's coming in the future. AI, continually updating and upgrading the platform day by day, month by month. They're looking, months, years in advance already. They've got a complete team that's analyzing what are the future trends going to bring. So rather than if you're a manufacturing company or a distributor, that's not in your wheelhouse. You don't have that tech support, those people there. And to find those people, Gideon, I mean, you tell me, you're one of them. I mean, you are one of the pioneers in this. I give you credit. I'm not a tech guy. But I mean, both the automotive industry and the tech side. But to find, let's say another person like you is highly unique.
Well, I got really lucky. I think in my journey, man. And I always tell the story. I was very lucky to get introduced to the president of the Parts House years and years and years and years ago, with David Honig, who, God bless him, he just recently retired. Maybe we can get him on to come share what he's doing. Probably fishing or surfing is my guess. But I was very lucky, and I'm going to tell you right now, man. The first day that I walked into that, I looked back and started scratching my head, and I didn't know anything. I said, "Holy shit, this is unbelievable." You see
Right.
fragmentation, you see point solutioning, you see ineffective tech, you see, because WDs are not technology companies, manufacturers are not technology companies. So really nobody was innovating in our space, right? You've got some
Yep.
point solutions that were like, yeah, we're doing this. And then you start to dive in. You're like, oh, wait, well, you're just bolting on this and bolting on that and bolting on this. You're kind of not a technology. You're kind of more of an aggregator of technology. Um,
Yep.
and so, I'm very fortunate, but we see it all the time, right? That your exact use case. Okay, they've hired now somebody in e-commerce, but they come from cosmetics, right? Or they come
Exactly.
from, home and garden, or they come from, it's like, what? Like,
Yeah.
and so they have no idea even what they're walking into. And then they find themselves like, yeah, I understand the tech side, but man, the automotive, there's so many nuances and components that are like, I had
Exactly.
no clue about it. Um, but I'm going to tell you though, with we have to move forward. There's
Yep.
no other option. If we're not moving forward, well, we're just looking backwards, right? And we're
Exactly.
wondering, well, shit, what the hell happened?
Yep.
Um, so we have to move forward. So that that innate human characteristic of business, of moving forward, it naturally will solve a lot of these problems. There's
Yep.
going to be tech platforms. I think there's going to be specialized, specific platforms that are the future, that manufacturers and WDs come together on. Because, and I'll share, I was in an enterprise level meeting not too long ago, and we're sitting with the executive leadership, and one of their senior engineers and architects was said basically this, and it was, as I quote, he said, we are not a technology company. We are a products company, right?
Yep.
So it goes back to the old saying, who are you, right? Know your lane. Do
Correct.
you know your lane?
Exactly.
Jack of all trades, master of nothing.
Exactly.
And it resonated with me. I said, you know what? You're right. Like, they
Yep.
invest in products. They invest in high quality products, the best product in the market. They don't invest in technology. They just solution for the problem today.
Correct.
But you got to connect in with folks who are investing in technology to be the future, and now that can align with your business needs. And I go back to the quote, which I would love to have him on, Will Steingold, Genuine Parts Company CEO.
Right.
We are becoming a technology. All automotive organizations must become technology companies. If you're not doing that today, okay, and you're not leveraging distribution, you're not leveraging specialized infrastructure that you can build and be nimble and be quick with, you are missing the boat.
Absolutely.
Period.
Yeah. No, and this is something that if you're manufacturer, WD, e-tailer, retailer, they have to reach out, Gideon, exactly to somebody like you. I mean, really, that has that combined knowledge that can share with them, that can sit at their board table, that can sit in on a meeting with them and explain to them, give them advice and say, right, guys, if you're interested in getting into technology, here's the steps to do so. Because really, for a lot of these organizations, the infrastructure and the people that they have in place, even at the top levels, in the C suite, these people can't generally sit at a table and have an in-depth conversation like you can have regarding both the automotive side of the conversation as well as the e-commerce as well as the technology side of the conversation. So really, and I mean, this kind of goes into what we always say: reach out to us. And
That's it.
particularly on this topic, reach out to Gideon, send him a message and say, hey, our organization, our business, our plant is having a meeting upcoming this month or next month, and we're going to be discussing this topic. Can Gideon, do you mind hopping on? I'm sure, I'm not going to speak for Gideon, but I'm sure Gideon would say, hey, that's fine, that's great. I would love to hop on and just kind of give you my opinion. But that's what we're here for, is as a resource for this exact sort of thing. But really, I encourage everybody to do that, because we've seen it time and time again where organizations have wasted so much time, so much money
Yep.
building a platform that just didn't work. And 1 year later, they're really starting at ground zero, and they contact us or contact Gideon, and we're ripping it apart and literally starting from square one.
Yep.
So,
Well, and that is the biggest thing. And I think, Lucas, you and I, when we look at our ambitions and our motivations, we are stewards of the industry, man.
yeah,
Like my professional objective, my professional career is to be a catalyst within our industry to move everyone forward, right? To where we
yep,
can service that customer who had a repair, and they're a single mother, a single father, maybe they're strapped with cash, to be able to get them back up and running and get their life going.
yep,
And so it doesn't matter how we get there. I hate seeing organizations just shell out cash left and right and have no results, no business outcomes, right? You always have to tie an investment to a business outcome, because then you can measure it. And yeah, you're right. I mean, I'm here for the industry wholeheartedly. Um, and I think that we need to continue to develop that industry culture around it. And obviously, I love automotive. I've been in it. You understand the same. But we continue to see great progress. The guests coming up in March, the guests coming up in April, May, June are going to be reflective of that same voice and that same vision and that same ideology. And so it's important that we continue to support not only our Auto Trends podcast, our industry. And again, folks, as we've said, the best way to support what we are doing is like and subscribe. That's what moves the needle for everyone in our industry. And that ultimately, we are here for you.
exactly. And also reach out to myself, Lucas Welk on LinkedIn, or Gideon Williams on LinkedIn. That's probably the best spot. That if you want to just shoot us a message, connect with us on there, shoot us any sort of message to our inbox. We'll get back to you very quickly. But we love connecting with everybody. We love connecting the dots. Or if you say, I'm an e-tailer, I'm a retailer, I need connections at WDs, or
That's it.
I'm a large manufacturer, I really want to get connected with a WD, or a WD wants to get connected with a manufacturer. It goes the opposite ways. It's all kind of like a big spider web that we can really help connect that and make those connections. And, everybody wins at the end of the day. And that's why we're here, for
That's it,
everybody to win.
Lucas. That's it, man. And I'd say for our listeners, guys, we're about up on time here. Like and subscribe. Reach out to myself, Gideon Williams, or Lucas Welk. We are here for the industry. We are here for the future. We are going to continue to be stewards of this process as you develop your organization, you develop your business. Again, that's what we do. That's what we're here for. We are the Auto Trends Podcast, baby.